Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. So today, we're going to be looking at something that I found really cool.
Oh,
It's this department at the University of Mumbai
yeah.
that's all about lifelong learning.
Okay.
You know how we always talk about how important it is to never stop learning?
Right.
Well, this department is dedicated to that idea.
Neat.
It's called the Department of Lifelong Learning and Extension, or DLLE for short.
Okay.
And they have this website
Mm-hmm.
that's just like chock full of information about all their programs.
That sounds cool.
And yeah, I'm kind of geeking out about it a little bit.
I can see why. Lifelong learning is definitely becoming more and more important these days, especially
Right.
with how fast the world is changing. What was it about this department that caught your eye?
Well, first of all, the University of Mumbai itself,
Yeah.
it's got this incredible history. Like it was founded all the way back in 1857,
Wow.
which makes it one of the oldest universities in India.
Oh, wow.
That's even before Canada became a country.
That's a long time.
I know, right?
It's amazing to think about all the history that university has seen. You know,
Right.
the University of Mumbai wouldn't even exist if it weren't for something called Wood's Education Dispatch.
Really?
Yeah, it basically totally changed higher education in India.
Wow.
It led to universities being established in major cities like Mumbai, and it shaped the whole system we know today.
So this DLLE is part of a university with some serious history behind it.
For sure.
But let's get back to the department itself.
Okay.
So their mission is all about making education accessible to everybody,
Mm-hmm.
not just those who go the traditional route of like high school straight to college.
Makes sense.
What do you think about that?
I think it's great. Like you said,
Yeah.
the world's changing so fast. People need to keep learning and adapting all the time.
Right.
Like, think about it. Job markets are constantly evolving.
Yeah.
Technology's changing everything.
Yeah.
The skills you need to thrive, they're always shifting.
Yep.
So this focus on lifelong learning seems really timely and relevant.
I agree. And they're not just talking about it either. They're offering a whole bunch of different programs and courses for people of all ages and backgrounds.
Oh, wow.
And I was looking at their faculty,
Yeah.
and I was just blown away by one of their professors,
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Kunal D. Jadhav.
Okay.
This guy has a list of qualifications. It's just incredible.
What are we talking?
Okay, so he's got master's degrees
Yeah.
in English, history, and sociology,
Wow.
a master of education, a master of philosophy.
Hold up.
I get this.
Yeah.
2 OPHDs.
Whoa.
One in lifelong learning and another in rural development.
That's impressive. I wonder if those areas of expertise are connected somehow.
Me too.
Rural development and lifelong learning might seem totally different, but
Yeah.
I bet there are some really interesting connections there.
You're probably right. It's not every day you find someone with that kind of diverse knowledge.
Definitely. It makes you wonder how his expertise in rural development could be informing his approach to lifelong learning and vice versa. Maybe there are insights from rural areas about community-based education that could be applied more broadly to lifelong learning strategies.
That's a great point. It would be so interesting to hear more about how he brings all those perspectives together.
Totally. It just shows you how interdisciplinary education really is.
Right.
And how fields that seem totally separate can actually complement each other in really cool ways.
And speaking of adapting to the modern world,
Yeah.
the DLLE is also really embracing technology.
Oh, how so?
Well, they have this e-learning center
Cool.
where they're offering online courses.
That makes a lot of sense.
And they even got funding from the UGC to do it.
Wow. The University Grants Commission.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. That really shows how much they believe in this e-learning initiative.
Yeah, it's really cool.
So what kind of courses do they offer online?
They have a pretty interesting mix. They offer certificates in things like
Okay.
office administration, computer hardware, software, and networking, and even Linux administration.
Really? That's a great selection.
Yeah.
Office administration skills are always in demand,
Sure.
but they've modernized it to include all the new tools and technologies you need to know.
Yeah, it's not just like typing and filing anymore.
Exactly. And then you've got computer hardware, software, and networking.
Mm-hmm.
That whole field is just exploding right now.
Yeah.
Businesses rely on all these interconnected systems more and more every day.
Mm-hmm.
So those skills are really valuable.
And then there's Linux administration. That one seems pretty specialized.
It is, but
Yeah.
Linux is the operating system behind a lot of the servers and systems that power the internet and businesses.
Oh, wow.
So even though it might seem kind of niche,
Yeah.
those skills are actually super in demand.
Huh. I'm learning a lot today.
Me too.
So out of all those courses,
Yeah.
which one intrigues you the most?
I think what's really fascinating is how they're blending those practical skills with technology.
Right.
Like they're really addressing the needs of today's workforce.
Yeah.
But they're also recognizing that some traditional skills like office administration are still really important.
It's like they're trying to give people the best of both worlds.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's something we can all learn from. It's not just about learning new things, but also about understanding how those new things connect to the things we already know.
I'm kind of curious about that Linux administration course myself. It sounds pretty challenging.
I bet. But think of what you could do with those skills. You could be like the wizard behind the curtain.
Keeping the internet running.
Exactly.
Okay, well, we've talked a lot about what the DLLE offers.
We have.
But I'm really curious about the impact they're actually having. Like, it's one thing to have all these great courses.
Right.
But are they actually making a difference in people's lives?
That's a great question. Let's explore that in the next part of our deep dive.
Sounds good. We'll be right back after a short break. All right, so we've talked about how the DLLE is committed to this idea of lifelong learning, and they've got their e-learning center.
Yeah.
But let's dig a little deeper into those certificate courses they offer.
Okay.
You mentioned office administration,
Right.
computer hardware, software, and networking, and then Linux administration.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think someone would actually learn in those courses? Like, what would they be doing?
Well, for office administration, it's easy to think, oh, it's just like typing and filing and stuff.
Right, right.
But it's so much more than that these days.
I bet it's not like your grandma's secretarial course anymore.
Exactly. It's all that technology now.
Mm-hmm.
Spreadsheets, databases, presentation software, all these project management tools, online collaboration platforms.
Wow.
A good office administrator needs to know how to use all of that.
So it's really about managing information and workflows, but in like a digital environment.
Yeah, pretty much.
That makes sense. What about the computer hardware, software, and networking course?
So that one's going to give you a really solid foundation in both the physical parts of computers
Okay.
and all the software that makes them work.
Yeah.
You'd probably learn things like how to troubleshoot hardware problems, how to install and configure software,
Okay.
understanding network protocols, and maybe even some basic cybersecurity.
So that sounds pretty hands-on,
It is.
very practical. Is this the kind of course that could lead to a job in like IT support or something?
No, absolutely. A lot of entry-level IT jobs want you to have a good understanding of both hardware and software.
Right.
So this course could be a great way to get your foot in the door.
Okay, cool. And then there's that Linux administration course,
Yeah.
which seems very specialized.
It is a bit more specialized.
Do you explain what Linux is and why it's so important?
Sure. So Linux is an operating system,
Okay.
like the basic software that a computer runs on.
Right, right.
You've probably heard of Windows and Mac OS.
Yeah.
Those are operating systems too,
Mm-hmm.
but Linux is a little different. Well, it's what's called open source,
Okay.
which basically means that the code is available for anyone to use, modify, and distribute.
So it's kind of like a community-driven operating system.
Yeah, you could say that.
That's cool. But why would someone want to learn how to administer it?
Well, Linux powers a huge chunk of the internet and a lot of the servers that businesses use.
Really?
Yeah, it's known for being very stable, secure, and flexible,
Ah.
which is why it's so popular for things like web servers, cloud computing, even supercomputers.
Wow. So it's kind of a big deal then.
It is, and that's why Linux administrators are in such high demand.
Makes sense.
They're the ones who keep all those systems running smoothly and securely and efficiently.
So I'm starting to see why the DLLE chose these specific certificate courses.
Yeah,
They're all about giving people skills that are in demand right now.
absolutely.
It seems like they're really thinking about the future and how to prepare people for it.
I think so too. And what I find really impressive is how they're blending traditional skills like office administration with these cutting-edge technologies like Linux administration.
Yeah.
They're not just focused on one thing. They're trying to give people a bunch of different options that appeal to different interests and career goals.
It's like they're trying to help people become well-rounded and adaptable.
Exactly. They're fostering a mindset of lifelong learning, which is so important in a world that's constantly changing.
You're making me think about my own career.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to learn new things and stay ahead of the game.
Me too.
And these courses sound really interesting.
It is inspiring to see an institution like the DLLE that's so dedicated to providing these kinds of opportunities for
Yeah.
people at all different stages of their careers.
And it makes you realize that learning shouldn't stop after you graduate.
No, definitely not.
It's something you should keep doing your whole life.
I completely agree. And the DLLE is a perfect example of how education can empower people to achieve their goals, to adapt to new challenges, and to make a positive impact on the world.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've talked about the DLLE's commitment to lifelong learning,
Yeah.
their cool e-learning platform, and all those practical certificate courses they offer. But there's one more thing I want to touch on.
Okay.
The overall impact of this department. Like, what kind of difference are they actually making in people's lives and in the community as a whole?
That's a big question.
Let's delve into that in the next part of our deep dive. Okay, so we talked about all these things the DLLE offers, but I want to know, like, what's the impact?
Yeah, what kind of difference are they making?
Right, like, it's one thing to have courses, but are they actually helping people?
That's what matters, right?
Yeah.
And I think from what we've seen, they really are.
What makes you say that?
Well, think about the skills they're teaching.
Okay.
Office administration, computer networking, Linux administration.
Yeah.
Those are all skills that employers are really looking for these days. So by giving people those skills, the DLLE is making them more employable,
Right.
opening up all these new job opportunities.
So it's not just like a personal thing.
Yeah,
It's like an economic thing, too.
exactly. It's about economic empowerment.
I like that.
And when people have more economic power,
Yeah.
it affects the whole community.
Oh, how so?
Well, they can contribute more to the local economy. They can support their families better.
Right.
And they can even inspire other people to pursue education and self-improvement.
I hadn't thought about it like that.
It's like a ripple effect.
Yeah, yeah.
And don't forget that DLLE is part of the University of Mumbai,
Oh, right.
one of the oldest and most prestigious universities in India.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
It is. That legacy opens a lot of doors for their graduates.
So it's not just the education itself.
No.
It's the reputation and the connections that come with it.
Exactly. That network is super valuable
Yeah.
for finding jobs, finding mentors, all sorts of professional development.
It's amazing to think about the long-term impact.
I know, right?
They're changing individual lives,
Yeah.
but they're also shaping the future of the community.
And maybe even beyond.
It's really powerful.
That's the power of education. It can transform individuals, communities, even entire societies.
Yeah, and the DLLE, with this focus on lifelong learning and making education accessible.
It's a great example of how education can make a real difference.
Well said. I think that's a perfect place to wrap things up.
Yeah.
The University of Mumbai, through the DLLE, is a testament to how powerful education can be.
Absolutely. And for our listeners out there,
Yes.
we encourage you to check out the DLLE website
Yeah, go take a look.
and think about how lifelong learning could fit into your own life.
That's great advice. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
And until next time, keep those minds curious and those learning spirits alive.